My 25-year-old mother made a rude comment about my boyfriend's 26-year-old deceased brother, and I don't know how to move forward. 2 years ago, my boyfriend's younger brother tragically died in a motor vehicle accident at the age of 11. It was a really tough time. My boyfriend still hasn't gotten over it completely. He was a very caring older brother, and I know that he loved that kid as much as he loved me. A lot. His younger brother was in the car with his mom when it happened, and she rarely enforced the adornment of seatbelts in the car. My boyfriend doesn't blame his mom for what happened, but I suspect that my mother does. My mother usually has her heart in the right place, but she has a really big mouth. She doesn't really like my boyfriend because she thinks he's not emotionally equipped to be a father, whatever that means, so she can be pretty rude to him. We've had discussions about how she treats him in the past, and I've made it very clear to her that I want to marry this guy, but she still hasn't changed. My boyfriend and I came to visit my parents for the week, since my dad is turning 64. This morning, my mother and I got into an argument because she was still trying to baby me. She tried to correct my toothbrushing motions, even though I'm a full-fledged, self-supporting adult. I guess she's bored or something. We all got into the car to go out for brunch, when my mum told me my seatbelt was secured too loosely. My boyfriend smirked a little because he was there when I discussed babying my mother, and she was not happy with his reaction. Whenever she feels belittled, she gets vicious, but she definitely went way too far this time. I don't remember what she said exactly, but it was something along the lines of, "I care about the well-being of my children. Maybe if you or your mother cared as much as I do, your younger brother would still be here. Do you find negligence funny?" The car went dead silent right after that. My dad noped the suck out, and my boyfriend just sat there in shock. I was furious at my mum, but I didn't know what to do, so I coarsely told her to get out of the car and go back inside the house. She refused, unsurprisingly, so I took my boyfriend, who was silent the entire time, to our own car and drove him to a hotel. I promised him he didn't have to spend the rest of our trip at their house. He hasn't said much since the incident, but I can tell he's very upset with my mother. He has issues with opening up and sharing his grief, so I'm very worried that what my mother said re-triggered the depression he went through immediately following his younger brother's death. My mother is unbelievable. I'm not sure if she is a narcissist, but she is most definitely a bitch. On Thursday, I called my father and asked him to bring us our stuff to our hotel so we could begin the 3-hour drive back home. When he arrived at our hotel, he apologized profusely to my boyfriend for what my mother said, and they both shook hands and agreed to move on. I think my dad sort of wanted us to stay, but I knew that any type of interaction with my father would involve my mother as well, and I am not going to let that happen for obvious reasons. I ended things on amicable terms with my father, because I don't think it's fair to blame him for what my mother said. He is probably enabling her, but he promised me he would talk to her about making steps towards fixing things. That being said, I'm pretty sure my mother won't change her mind anytime soon. I asked my father privately about my mother's reaction to everything, and he told me that she was very disappointed in me for making this trip about me and my relationship. Apparently, she does not want to speak to me until I apologize to her. Who says what she says and then demands an apology? I'm especially hurt about everything because she did all of this right after I finished expressing my excitement to her, because I discovered something that led me to believe my boyfriend was planning on proposing to me soon. She knows that I love him more than anything else in the world, and she still paid no attention to his feelings, and my feelings by extension. She doesn't have to love him, but she should at least care about him, merely because he's important to me. Is that too much to ask from my own mother? On the car ride home, I tried to cheer my boyfriend up by asking him about the soccer and tennis games he was watching, because he likes it when I take an interest in his hobbies. Usually, he will happily explain everything to me, but this time, he barely said anything, so I decided to give him some space. I ended up replying to a few comments on here and reading some articles about narcissism. When we got home, he seemed much more at peace with what happened, so I was hoping that we could just put my mother behind us and move past this. Yeah, my mother demanding an apology isn't the unbelievable part of last night. Our home phone had a voicemail from my boyfriend's dad asking us to call him. My mother actually called my boyfriend's parents to question their parenting directly. Oh my God, who does that? This is far and beyond what I thought my mother would ever be capable of. I am so disgusted by all of this that I don't even want to know what my mother said to them specifically. My boyfriend's mom won't get on the phone with us, but his dad said that she's been sobbing non-stop. I feel sick to my stomach about everything, but I don't know what to do. My mom won't reply to my messages or my calls because she's still waiting for an apology, and my poor dad is caught in the middle of everything during his birthday weekend. My boyfriend, someone who's traditionally very agreeable and calm, is livid. He told me wants her out of his life completely, and I agreed with him, but I'm not sure she'll let us just cut her out of our lives without trying to hurt us even more. His parents live on the other side of the country, so he feels completely helpless. It's like my mother erased all of our therapy sessions and counseling in one day just because she was unhappy with how my boyfriend reacted to her ridiculous behavior. Yesterday was pretty uneventful. My boyfriend and I just hung out for the majority of the day. Neither of our mothers has spoken to us. For the record, my mother did not raise me to be this way. I was very close to her when I was younger, and while we did drift a little bit after college, I still frequently confided in her. I always knew she had a big mouth, but her current actions are just hateful. She can't plead obliviousness. She is deliberately trying to hurt people I care about. I don't know what's happened to her, but that woman is not my mother, and I don't care if I ever speak to her again. When I was young, I used to fantasize that my father and my Prince Charming would become best friends. Knowing that, it's very likely, my father will not be walking me down the aisle, cuts my heart like a knife. I called him up to talk to him about my decision on Saturday, while my boyfriend was privately Skyping with his parents. He told me he was happy to hear from me, and he explained that my mother was going through our family photos to throw away pictures of me. He saved all of the pictures, but he did not stop her from throwing them out in the first place. I asked him if he repeated anything from our last phone call to my mother. He did. I asked him if he could promise me that would stop. He could not. I started sobbing, and I told him that I could not keep him in my life while he was still enabling my mother's behavior. He joined me in crying and repeatedly begged me to make up with my mum. I explained to him very clearly why that would not happen under the current circumstances, and we both sat silently on the phone for what felt like an hour. He broke the silence by telling me that he was proud of me and that he loved me more than anything in the world. That only made me cry more. I guess my boyfriend heard me sobbing because he walked into the room, hugged me, and asked me who I was on the phone with. Eventually, he asked to speak with my father, and after their conversation, my boyfriend asked me if I sincerely believed that I had to cut my father out of my life. I explained to him that we would never be able to move past this while I was still in contact with someone that allowed my mother to continue her hateful actions. My boyfriend accepted my response and reminded me that it was my decision to make, and he did not want me to feel like he was pressuring me to sever or maintain my relationship with my father. I called my dad 3 to 4 times a week, so he knows how close I was with him and how much love we have for each other. He knows this wasn't an easy decision for me to make. I finished the call with my dad by telling him that he needed to get my mother help, and he needed to put his foot down to let her know that her current actions are not okay. He understood, and he promised me that he would do whatever it takes to get me back into his life, including a divorce if my mother continues her refusal to work on herself. But right now he wants to keep on pushing to get my mother help because he loves her. I admire and respect my father a lot, even if I don't fully admire and respect the things he's done this past week. Despite everything my mother has done to me, my boyfriend's family, and even him, he is still loyal to her. Enabling her certainly isn't something he should be proud of, but I admire his devotion to his wife. A lot of people tell me that I'm fiercely loyal to my loved ones, and I'm very proud that I learned that from him. I hope he keeps his promise and finds his way back into my life, but I know I should not count on it. After my phone call, my boyfriend and I had a serious discussion about everything that's happened. I don't know how, especially after he embraced me half an hour earlier while I was crying, but I convinced myself that he was going to leave me. I had to work so hard to hold back tears as he spoke, because I thought I knew that this would be our last conversation as a couple. I'm well aware of the fact that I am the sole reason he has to deal with all of this, and to be frank, I feel responsible. If I wasn't in his life, his family would not have had to gone through this awful experience. But instead of breaking up with me, he asked me to tell him how I was feeling about everything, and how I need him to support me. I told my beautiful boyfriend everything. I asked him the same question, and he told me everything. He also suggested that I begin meeting regularly with his therapist, at least for now, and I accepted wholeheartedly. The only positive aspect of pain is having your best friend support you through it. After our talk, He wanted to think about everything in quiet, but he asked me to sit with him. We sat together and said nothing for hours. He didn't want to cuddle, and he didn't even look at me for the majority of the silence. He just asked me to be with him. I tried to think about this entire situation some more, but instead, I just thought about how much love I have for my boyfriend. Eventually, he began to talk about his brother. We shared familiar stories with each other and cherished them as if they were new. We both celebrated his brother's beautiful life together, but it wasn't sad or depressing. It was very pleasant. I was troubled when he started talking about things he could have done differently. Obviously, I immediately explained that nothing about the loss was his fault, but I'm not sure he believes that the awful things my mother said are untrue. It's bothering me a lot, and I have already told his therapist about this. His therapist offered some responses I can use if my boyfriend brings up this awful thought again. But I'm curious about how Reddit thinks I should reply. Maybe I've done some things wrong as a girlfriend. Please point them out. But I'm doing my best to be the woman he deserves. Thanks to the suggestions of Reddit, I offered to Skype with my boyfriend's parents to express my grief and offer my support to them. It went very well. His parents were lovely, as always, and it pains me to know that these innocent, kind people have to experience this much heartbreak in their lifetimes. I explained to them how much my heart aches for them and how I have cut off contact with my parents completely. They told me that they loved me very much and that they would lend an ear if I ever needed guidance. Who would want to hurt people like that? It's not fair that these beautiful people have to suffer through this. I would not wish this pain on the most definitively evil people in the world. I wrote my mother a very long email explaining why I would no longer be speaking to her or my father. I detailed how her actions hurt me and people that I loved. I explained how betrayed I felt. I told her that she was not acting like the mother that raised me to live virtuously. I asked her to get help. I told her that if she didn't want to do it for me or herself, she needs to do it for my father. Even a person that has acted as selfishly as her has to feel an emotional obligation to please the one person standing by them, right? I admitted to her that I still loved her and my father. I admitted that I would love them unconditionally, and there is nothing I can do to change that. But I also explained that I could not sit by and watch my mother destroy herself like this, and I could not idly watch her hurt the other people I love unconditionally. Perhaps that gave her ammo. Looking back, I feel like my profession of love to her was unnecessary, but I don't regret telling her that. It's the truth. She replied almost immediately, and I could not stop myself from reading her reply, mostly because she had replied at all, despite me not apologizing for anything in the email. I was foolishly hopeful that she finally understood everything. Instead, she tells me she is disgusted that I'm entertaining my father's notion to get her evaluated medically and mentally. She says that we're the ones that need the evaluations. She writes that I am a fool for abandoning my family for a man I met at a bar. She finishes by telling me that I am not the daughter she raised, and she will never be able to forgive me for making my father cry because I selfishly want to spend more time with my boyfriend. I cried after I read her letter, not because her words hurt me, but because it's painfully clear that there is something wrong with her, but she's too hurt, scared, or hateful to let us help her. I'm grieving the loss of my mother because I'm afraid I will never see her again. Things are bad now, but I'm very optimistic about my future. I know that any of my boyfriend's possible plans to propose are delayed at best, but I don't think my mother has succeeded in destroying our future family. Thank you so much for all of your support. I do not think I will update again, and if I do, it won't be for a while, but I will try to reply to as many comments as possible. The overwhelming love and support I've discovered in this community delighted me, and I am grateful for all of the advice and kind thoughts you have shared with me. To all of the parents that shared their stories about the loss of their children with me, my heart aches for you. You are a wonderful person for using your story to help others. I wish I could hug you.